Okay, good evening everyone. So yesterday we have discussed about the population theories, right? We have discussed a lot about the population theory. Good evening to online students, to which everyone, very good evening. Okay, so the point is that here we are discussing about what population theories. Now population theory we had started yesterday. We have discussed the very important, the Malthusian and the Neo-Malthusian. So Malthusian approach we did yesterday, and then we have done Neo-Malthusian. I'll just revise what we have done yesterday and then I'll move to the new approaches. For example, the new theory that we have is what? Further, we'll discuss about the marks. We'll discuss about the optimum theory, right? So the first thing is that Malthusian, what he said that? He said about the population growth versus food production. What is the population growth? What he told about the population growth, he gave a very pessimist idea about the population growth. What is the idea that he has given? He has given a very pessimist view that the population growth should not be there. If the population growth will be there, then what will happen? Yes, food scarcity will be there because more people will be there than to dependent upon it. And when more people will be there, then what will happen? Then the dependency would increase. When the dependency increases, then you won't be able to match the demands of the people. That is what they have said. Now the next thing is Neo-Malthusian, and also one more thing that he has said, that the food production increases in which manner? Arithmetic manner, while population is growing in geometric manner, right? This is what he has to say. Now the next very important approach that we have is Neo-Malthusian, where he was agreeing with what Malthus says, that the population is a very key determinant for the people. Why? Because for their growth, key determinant is the population. If population is going to be less, then the resources dependency is also going to be limited. And when the dependency on the resources is going to be limited, then what will happen? There would be the balance would be maintained, because he also talked about the different aspects. For example, environment, that if we will not curb the population growth, or maybe we will not control the population growth, then the environmental degradation will happen. Apart from that, there will be what dependency on the other resources, also mineral resources, right? When can you see that how dependent we are on the oil, crude? We have done what? We have completed, or almost we have finished the crude oils, right? We are finding the new reserves now, right? We are shifting. Why? Because we have already consumed what we had. When we have consumed, now we have to shift, we have to find the other sources in order to find it more. Next is what he has talked about, that see, this can also lead to a lot of diseases, etc., because more number of people, that means more diseases, etc., would be there. The next theory that we talked about yesterday was anti-Malthusian, also very good. Anti-Malthusian was what? They completely denied what Malthusian was saying, because they did not believe in his theory. Reason? They said that, see, there is no point of going with this thought that you should reduce the population. Why? Because population reduction is not a solution. What will happen then? The growth will get stagnant. Kya hoga fir? What other criticism that you have wrote? Yes, no new innovations will be there. Then what else? Correct. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Yes, correct. So what will happen in this anti-Malthusian approach? They denied the fact that there should not be what? the curb on population growth. Stop talking about decline of population growth or stopping of population growth, because this is not they believed in. Now the next thing that we are going to talk about, that we had a discussion of, which is demographic transition theory. What is this demographic transition theory? What is this demographic transition theory? It says that your demographic has 4 stages. What 4 stages that we talked about? The stage 1 is telling us, yes, high birth rate and high death rate. So the population is going to be what? Balanced. This is the era we are talking before pre-industrial era. This is your what? Your pre-industrial era. Now the next stage that we can talk is stage 2. What is this stage 2? It is talking about high growth rate and low death rates. Why the high growth rates? Because now the food is available. Food is, because of the better technology, because of the better productivity and the changes. And in industrial era also, what will happen? Because the machines, they started using the machines, the technology, yes, they started using the machine, and then the mindset changed. And what happened? The food availability was there, productivity was there, so better food for the people. Now the stage 3 is that since the people per capita income was also increasing to some extent, so they shifted towards better standards of living. When they shifted towards better standards of living, then they themselves thought that now we should curb, we should not, that was their choice, that we can't have more children, we don't want to have more children. Reason being, because we have to go for the quality over quantity. So they favored what? Quality over quantity. That we have to give the better lifestyles to our child, right? Standard of living raised, because education, because of the awareness, they started promoting more of education, and people started believing that now we have to give more this thing. What? Yes, control birth rate. Yes, awareness also increased, right? Yes. So low birth rates, but still maintained death rates. Why? Because medical revolution was also there, right? So therefore death rates were also maintained. Now the stage 4 is yours. Low birth rate and low death. So here the demographic structure will change, just like Japan. Okay? So this is what we have discussed in the previous class. Today I am going to discuss about another theory which was given by Marx. We have already discussed who was Karl Marx, right? And there would be also the discussion of Marx thoughts, his perspective in between. And there was a question, and there will be a question on Marx thoughts on population theory. But what were the Marx thoughts on population? Do you also think Karl Marx was against the population growth? Or was he in favor of the population growth? What was the case with him? Whether he was against the theory or he was for the theory of Malthus. He talked about control birth rate, but why? What did he not believe in? Did he not find any lacunas in the whole system? No, basically Marx wanted to talk that there is no problem if you are growing the population or not. The problem is that first of all, you want to keep the surplus labor with you. Why the surplus labor? See, when your population will grow, what will happen then? Your surplus labor would be there every time available. When the surplus labor would be there, what will happen? The prices of the wages of the labor will remain same or maybe decrease. If they are too much, then they will decrease. This is the whole concept of demand and supply. So because this population growth is driving from surplus labor. And now he also talked about another thing, that population that you are focusing on, ये जो पॉपुलेशन पे आप फोकस कर रहे हैं, ये पॉपुलेशन डिक्रीज इंक्रीज करने से नहीं, आपके मॉडल्स चेंज करने से होगा. मॉडल्स मीन्स यू हैव टू ब्रिंग डिफरेंट मॉडल्स सो दैट एवरीबडी कैन सस्टेन. This is what he talked about, right? So we'll gradually introduce Marx, that how he thought about the population, and then we will discuss that how, where he was against, where he was in favor. Okay, first we'll write the introduction, write down. Marx did not propound any theory of population. Marx did not propound any theory of population per se. As the Malthus stated, that his theory has universal applicability. So what Malthus said that उनका जो theory है, it is universally applicable. ये universally applicable है. अब universally कोई चीज applicable होगी, आप उसको गलत कर सकते हो. Can you falsify it? Can you tell me one statement which is universally correct? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It is universally same. Even if I try to put this statement in the universe, if I try to apply this statement on the earth or anywhere else for that matter, then this concept is not going to get changed. That is what is universal fact. So now Malthus said that my theory is universally applicable. That cannot be changed, right? But obviously we had a criticism, and we know that why he had a criticism, right? So now write down, Malthus thought that his theory was universally applicable, full stop. Marx refuted this claim. Marx refuted means he denied. Marx refuted this claim and argued that there could not be universal law for population. आपको लगता है कोई यूनिवर्सल लॉ हो सकता है पॉपुलेशन का? There could not be universal law for population. So first he said this, right? Next, he argued that every mode of production had its specific population principles. He argued that every mode of production has its specific population principles that are valid only within its limit. He defined the population principles. Next point. He defined the population principles peculiar to capitalist society. Peculiar to capitalist society. ठीक है? What do you mean by peculiar? Strange. Peculiar means strange. So he defined the population principle peculiar to capitalist society, characterized by large-scale replacement of labor, characterized by large-scale replacement of labor by machinery, characterized by large-scale replacement of labor by machinery. Right? Now write down next. He explained that relative surplus of population, relative surplus of population is associated with capitalist mode of production, is associated with capitalist mode of production, would disappear when capitalism is replaced by some kind of is replaced by some kind of collective mode of production, some kind of collective mode of production. What does it say? What is it is trying to say? देखिए, अब जो scarcity of production है, so this is not because of कि food scarcity या फिर किसी चीज का scarcity है. It is because the way it has been distributed. For example, if there is something present in the environment or in the world, and if you are distributing the larger share of that to only some category of the people or only to some segment of the people, then obviously the people who are remaining would have less of it. That means the distribution is not done in a proper way, and that is what he is saying. There is problem in the mode, there is a problem in the whole model. The problem is not with the how much you have in the environment, the problem is how you are actually taking it. For example, if you are giving more share to some segment and you are ignoring the other segment, that won't happen. Now read the line again and tell me how much did you understand after listening all this. So he said he merely defined the population principles peculiar to the capitalist society, characterized by large scale replacement of labor by machinery. So he explained that the relative surplus of population associated with capitalist mode of production. Now, if you are going with the capitalist mode of production, there would be always this scarcity for the ones who are not having it, right? And what else will happen? Marx believed that surplus product of labor previously appropriated by capitalists will be returned to its natural owners. And who were the natural owners? The workers. The workers, the one who are actually producing it, should have the actual share of it. Okay. Now what we are going to do is, write on the next line first. Marx believed that surplus product of labor, Marx believed that surplus product of labor, comma, previously appropriated by the capitalist, previously appropriated by the capitalist, comma, would be returned to its natural owners. And the natural owners, according to Marx, were the workers. Write down workers, comma, thereby eliminating poverty. Next point. Marx argued that What Malthus saw, the problem, Marx argued that what Malthus saw was the problem related to the pressure of population on the means of production, but rather it actually represented the pressure of means of production on population. It's a very important statement given by Marx, where he is saying, see, it is how Malthus is taking it. Malthus is taking it as there is a problem of means of production. So means of production is a problem, or the population is a problem? Yes, pressure of population on the, no, this is Malthus, okay? Malthus is saying this, that the pressure of population, there is a pressure of population on the means of production. That means that more the population, there would be more pressure on the production, right? Because you have to more make something, you have to produce something, because you have to feed maximum number of people. Now, what Marx is saying, see, your model is not fine. You need to change the model. So your means of production needs to be changed. That is where the problem is lying. And what is the means of production according to Marx? That it is a capitalist mode which is not right. This capitalism, this concept, the ideology of capitalism, where the resources are being given to the owners, only the some section who are at the top, right? And the whole resources are consolidated there. And when the resources are consolidated there, it would not let the people who are at the down to have much, right? What are those people known as? Your bourgeois class, right? So they would not have much. So one needs to think about it, and this statement can actually come in your exam. Now you need to understand each and every statement, because they randomly put a statement in optional paper and then they say discuss or comment. So you need to understand each and every part. Okay? Now write down. Thus he viewed it in the terms of their concept. Thus he viewed it in the terms of their concept of the reserve army of labor. In the concept of reserve army of labor, full stop. Reserve army of labor, reserve army of labor, reserve. What is this reserve army of labor? Workforce. And why this is reserve? What do you mean by reserve in economy? What is the literal meaning of reserve? The more of reserve that you think, you must have heard in economy. It's economic term that you should have reserves with you, right? But cannot it be used for the other resources? It can. So what does this mean to you about reserve army of labor? What does it mean? Okay. Okay. What is your concept? Yes, online students. What do you mean by reserve army of labor? So what will happen? अगर ज़्यादा workers होंगे तो क्या होगा? Correct. They will have more option, and they can, what they can do? They can replace. So they will have more of what? Correct. Less wages would be there. Now write down. Reserve army of labor is a concept in Karl Marx critique of political economy. It refers to reserve army of labor is a concept in Karl Marx critique of political economy. Full stop. It refers to the unemployed in the capitalist class. It refers to the unemployed in the capitalist class or capitalist society, you can write. That is a better word. In the capitalist society. Full stop. The use of the word army, the use of the word army refers to the worker being regimented. You have different regiments in army, right? Similarly, he compared that to the people who are regimented in the workplace in an hierarchy under the command and authority of owners, under the command and authority of owners of capitalist society. Of capitalist society. Right? Okay, so what else he discussed? Okay, let me see the comments if they are here. Just wait a minute. Okay. Now understand one more thing here. Okay. So what else do you want to comment on this? If, for example, if they ask that how the Marx ideology changed the Malthus concept, so what will you write? Or maybe this because he's coming from the socialist class, then what will you write on this? What will be your views? How will you conclude this? Hmm. Okay. Hmm. What else? You're going in the right direction. What else? Hmm. Hmm. Correct. Hmm. Correct. Correct. So write on the next point. Write on the next point. The rate of migration. The rate of migration, comma, the reasons behind migrations. and the impact of migrations. The rate of migration, comma, the reasons behind migration and the impact of migration on socialist structure, full stop, on socialist structure, full stop. What is valid for feudal society is not valid for bourgeois society. What is valid for feudal society is not valid for bourgeois society. So this was a statement made by him. Why? Because you are seeing the things only from one side. Okay, you're only seeing the things from one side, you're not taking care of the other class also. So when you start thinking and start responding from the other class side also, then you will understand the whole matter, right? Because the things are very, very different for both the classes. That is the whole fight is all about. Okay. According to Marx, write down, according to Marx, a capitalist society consists of two basic classes, comma. Now you can write on your own also. The capitalist class who own means of production, the capitalist class who own the means of production, and the workers who own nothing except their labor power, and workers who own nothing except their labor power. According to him, the capitalists earn more profits, comma, they hire workers, and supply the wherewithal of work. Wherewithal. And supply the wherewithal of work. Means of instruments of production and raw material. अब आप एक बात बताइए, if I give you the raw material, right, and if I give you the machinery also, right, इकोनॉमी भी दे दिया आपको, आपको materials भी provide कर दिए, instruments भी provide कर दिए, right? Now, can you think of making a final product without the labor? There is no possibility. So as much as the raw material is required, so is the labor is required. So the system cannot work. The supply of raw material is not enough, the supply of instruments is not enough. For example, instrument, I mean the machinery, etc., they're not enough. You need to have a labor to convert it into the final product. So what all is required? You need all means of production. और अगर सारी means of production में से कोई भी एक means of production नहीं होगा, तो there will be a problem. ठीक है? So write down instrument of productions and raw material. So production needs three things. First, instrument of production, comma, raw materials and worker. As the instrument of production, on their own as instruments of production, on their own cannot produce anything. Similarly, raw material itself cannot produce on their own. Similarly, raw material cannot produce anything. So according to him, it is only the labor which creates and adds what? Value addition to anything. So for all that, he wanted to say that if the labor is adding the value to anything, if he has also given the labor theory, we are not going to talk about the uh, labor theory of value here, but what he actually wanted to say from the labor theory of value, he wanted to say that because of the labor there is a value addition which has been added to the product, right? Because you're giving the raw, you're giving the raw material, giving the means instrument of production, but what is more important, equally important, is the labor contribution, and it is the labor who is actually making your final products and adding the value. Therefore they are very important part of the whole ecosystem, right? So one needs to understand that. Up now we have discussed in detail that how he talked about and how he was against Malthus, and why he was against Malthus, and why he thought that it is not the population which is the problem, the fundamental problem is in the organization of the society, how we have designed it. It is a model which is a problematic, which is really problematic. It is not the idea of population growth, right? I hope that you got the whole essence of it. Okay, just revise it for 2 minutes and let me know if you have any doubt. Okay, have you done the criticism of demographic transition theory yesterday? Have you done that? Stages only, no? We have missed the criticism, no? First we'll write the criticism and then we'll move to the next theory that we have. We have to do two more, in which one is very important, your optimal, and the other one, it's fine, boss it up. So we'll do both, but first we'll write the criticism, because I just remember that we have not done the criticism of critical evaluation, we have not done, right? Of yes, demographic transition theory. Okay. So this is from the previous lecture, yesterday's lecture. I hope that I have just explained everything, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 of demographic transition theory. See, there can be a question on critical evaluation of any theory. So I am giving all the points, whether it's positive, whether it's criticism, whether what scholar has said wrong about or negative about that theory. So everything has to be well read right before the exam. So critical evaluation of what theory? Your demographic transition theory. So what all criticism that we can consider here? Write down. The first one is non-applicability to less developed country. Non-applicability to less developed countries. Why it is non-applicable to less developed countries? Yes, there can be other ways of the other change of the population. Cannot be only the standard of living. There could be other, maybe the political instability could be there. There could be other diseases could be there, right? Or maybe the people are not having enough of basic amenities there because they are less developed. In the stage third of the demographic transition theory, the rate cuts, the birth rate cuts are basically they are driving from what factor? Because they wanted to have a quality, they wanted to have a good standards of living, so they can't spend much on the 4 children, rather they decided I will have one child and also I will take care of that one child and I'll invest in the education because the awareness was growing. लेकिन जब stage जरूरी नहीं है कि आपका कम इसलिए हो रहा है, there could be other factors also which can maybe the cultural values, culture भी हो सकता है, ठीक है, कुछ भी रीजन हो सकता है. सो यू कैन नॉट से यूनिवर्सली आप एप्लीकेबल कर देंगे इस थ्योरी को, ठीक है. सो राइट डाउन अंडर दिस नॉन एप्लीकेबिलिटी टू लेस डेवलप्ड countries. Write down. I'm writing in short form DTM. Okay, write down in short form DTM, the demographic transition, your theory. Write down. DTM has been validated primarily, has been validated primarily in Europe, has been validated primarily in Europe. It has been validated primarily in Europe and North America, and North America, where demographic data exist, where demographic data exist over centuries, comma, whereas high quality demographic data, whereas high quality demographic data for most developing country, for most developing country did not become widely available, did not become widely available until mid 20th century, until mid 20th century. Next line. This theory does not account for recent phenomena like AIDS, which is the leading source of diseases in major part of African countries. A major source of diseases in the major part of African countries. So see, your driver has changed now, right? There are different reasons for that. You cannot say अब जब चीजें बदल गई हैं in the different countries. For example, if I talk about Africa, how well developed is Africa? Different countries of the Africa, they are not well developed, right? Yes, they are the least developed. And why so? There are many reasons. And understand, if there is a political instability in the country of Africa, then do you think they will be running after the demographic census of a demographic survey? Not at all. First of all, they will see the survival mode. आप पहले सर्वाइव करेंगे तब आप इन चीजों पे जाएंगे, राइट? देयर हैज टू बी हायरार्की, right? Every country grows with a level. So first you will see that whether my country is getting protection, security, they have the sovereignty, the government is fine, it's not toppling every year, right? And then you will think of, okay, next thing I need to go to is your demographic analysis. Now this demographic analysis was not prominent in the developing countries. This was a concept of developed countries who actually wanted to do this for their own benefits. Now if this is not happening in a country like developing countries, then what will happen? अप्लाई ही नहीं होगा, ठीक है? हाँ, और रीजंस भी डिफरेंट है, ठीक है? व्हेन रीजंस आर डिफरेंट द होल स्टेजेस देन चेंजेस, ठीक है? देन राइट ऑन द नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. No, next, second point. Generalization from European experience. It was a generalization from European experience. Generalization from European experience. Online students, are you getting it? Okay. Write down. DTM is mostly applicable for European countries in general. DTM is applicable for European countries in general. Full stop. It also contained the hypothesis for other countries. It also contained the hypothesis for other countries. Write down. The DTM assumed that countries will go through all the stages. DTM assumed that countries will go through all the stages. ये उन्होंने assume करके बैठे थे कि जो ये demographic transition theory है, which will go through all the stages, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. What if something happens in this stage 2? Or what if something happens in, yes, like for example, epidemics can be one of the reasons. So you never know that, right? Full stop. Some countries may even skip the stages. Some country may even skip the stages. Next point, third point, write down. Economic development is not sufficient cause to affect. Economic development is not the sufficient cause to affect demographic transition. Demographic transition, sorry, economic development. What is the heading that you have written? Yes. What do you understand by this statement? Yes, population. Why? Again, we have discussed because of not only economy, because of the other factors, this has happened. Now, how will you explain this factor? How will you explain this point? How will you explain this point? The first is this: it assumes that population changes are induced. It assumes that population changes are induced by industrial changes. They assume that population changes are induced because of industrial changes. सिर्फ इंडस्ट्रियल चेंजेस से ही पॉपुलेशन का अप और डाउन होता है. दिस वाज द assumption by them. But there can be other reasons also which we have already talked about, which is what? This is economic reason. The other reason can be your social. What about the social impacts? What about the social factors? This is equally important as this is important, right? When this is also equally important, then how can we neglect this important factor? Okay, so write down, It assumes that population changes are induced by industrial changes and increased wealth, comma, without taking into account without taking into account the role of without taking into account the role of social changes in determining the birth rates For example, education of women. This is also important factor. Education of women is a very, very important factor in raising any population of an area or decreasing, right? Next point, DTM assumes that DTM assumes that no next point DTM assumes that birth rate is independent of the it assumes that birth rate is independent of the death rate. It is independent of the death rate. Your birth rate is independent of the death rate. What do you mean by that? There is no relation between how many people are taking birth and how many people are dying. There is no relation between that. So do you think there is a relation between that? How come? Can you give me one example? किस तरह से relation है? Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Previously there were greater number of births. So this has resulted in the increased aged population and less population of
Correct.
sanitation and
Very good.
birth rates.
Right.
So they are related.
They are related. Correct. So write down. DTM assumes that birth rate is independent of the death rate. Full stop. Demographers maintain that there is no historical evidence. There is no historical evidence for society-wide WIDE fertility rates rising significantly. Yes, demographers maintain that means there is no historical evidence for society-wide fertility rates rising significantly after high mortality rates. Right. So this is the criticism of the demographic transition theory that we have done yesterday. We missed out this criticism yesterday, so I made sure that I make you write today. Apart from that, we have done Marx. Okay, so what would be the criticism of Marx theory? Is there any criticism of Marx theory on population that we have done recently, Abhi? What can be the criticism? Hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
That there should be a controlled inclusion of the capitalist class, but it should not be fully on the hands of labor as well, because the resources and income it eventually lies in the hands of the capitalists. Because they have the money to supply them. So I feel that completely going towards socialism is also not a good and not a good.
So she's trying to say that there was extremes. They were saying that the means of production should be given to them because now they wanted to shift the consolidation of the resources to the working class, to the working class. That is also was not fine because that would also create what? a kind of problem. Okay, right, next. So can we think that the extremism, because this is of, see, his model was not applied, and we cannot assume that this model was right, what he was saying, that if there will be a change, this will happen. So again, there was no critical evidence. If there is no evidence, that means you cannot prove it, right? So although his theory was right, what he was saying was okay, but जब वो prove ही नहीं हुआ, जब वो apply ही नहीं हुआ, तो how can we say that this could have been applied or it could have been right? So for that to happen, they would have some evidences of that. तो वो evidences तो नहीं मिले हमें, right? So this is very important. Now the next theory we are moving on to is your okay. There's a very short this thing Esther Bosserup has given. Okay, it's not a theory. She has given something very interesting. Although her theory was not widely accepted because they could not find the evidences of same. So what she said that there should be more population, and why there should be more population? The population is increasing, and that will actually help the people to get the motivation for producing more, right? So that was a correlation that she wanted to try to bring between both the things, that more population means more motivation for production of the food, or there would be a land intensification in that case, because the more people, then you will think of the better ways, you will think of different ways of producing more. Now if she is thinking like that, now understand that how you will be able to correlate between both the points. One is thinking that production should be increased, and one is thinking that okay, production increase हुआ तो क्या होगा, ठीक है, वो कहाँ से motivation आ रहा है, population growth से motivation आ रहा है. So is there is any fact or evidence that can actually prove it, because of the more of the population you are getting more motivation to produce more? Can it be proven? It could be, it could not be, right? They can both the ways to see this theory, right? So that is what the people also said. The people were not fully convinced by this theory. क्यों convinced नहीं हुए? Because first thing is there is no evidence, right? And second thing is, if the population is increasing, now the production increase can be of because of the certain other factors, not only because of the population growth. हो सकता है उनको अपना इकोनॉमी बढ़ाना हो, मे बी उनका सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट हो उसके अंदर, दे वांटेड टू मेक मोर मनी, दैट्स व्हाई दे आर डूइंग द लैंड इंटेंसिफिकेशन, नॉट बिकॉज दे वांटेड टू फीड मोर पॉपुलेशन, राइट? सो कुछ भी रीजन हो सकता है, राइट? दे कैन नॉट बी अ कोरिलेशन व्हिच यू कैन एक्चुअली बिल्ड ऑन दैट. ठीक है, नाउ राइट डाउन ईस्टर बॉसरप, राइट डाउन द स्पेलिंग, EEESTER BOSERUP. Easter Bosserup was a Danish economist, full stop. She studied economic and agricultural development from Copenhagen University. From Copenhagen University. Studied economic and cultural development from Copenhagen University. Full stop. She worked at the United Nations as well as in other international organizations. And then she wrote seminal books on agrarian. She wrote seminal books on agrarian change, agrarian change, and role of women in development. Agrarian change and role of women in development. ठीक है, full stop. Boserup is known for her theory of agricultural intensification. She is known for her theory agricultural intensification. She is known for her theory agricultural intensification. Growth. Full stop. Her best known book on the subject. Her best known book on the subject. In double inverted commas, write down the conditions of agricultural growth. The conditions of agriculture. Please write down all this whenever this question is coming, because this actually brings and gives you a lot of marks, right? Write down the conditions of agricultural growth. The conditions of double inverted comma close comma. It presents a dynamic analysis embracing. It represents the dynamic analysis embracing all types of primitive agriculture. Embracing all types of primitive agriculture. She argued in this book. She argued in this book that the population growth is a major cause of agricultural change. That the population growth is a major cause of agricultural growth. Is a major cause of agricultural growth, which reduces labor productivity, which reduces labor productivity. Wait, what I said? There's a mistake, I think. In the statement. What I've written?
Yeah, I think in this book that population growth is a major cause of agricultural
Change. Please cut that line. The population growth is a major cause of agriculture change. After that, what you have written? No. Please cut that line. Cut that line. Write down. And the principal mechanism of change. And the principal mechanism of change is the intensification of land use. देखिए आप एग्रीकल्चर इंटेंसिफिकेशन कब कर पाएंगे? जब आप लैंड इंटेंसिफिकेशन करेंगे, जब लैंड को आप ऑप्टिमल लेवल पे यूज करेंगे, you will do this extensive use of the land, then only the agriculture will also increase automatically, right? So write down land intensification of land use, intensification of land use through increased in the frequency of cropping, through increased in the frequency of cropping, through increase in the frequency of cropping. मतलब कितनी बार आप crop you are trying to grow on that particular land, that is what the frequency they are talking about. That is what is your land intensification, and your with that your agriculture intensification will also increase, right? Full stop. Next line. She argued that intensification would not occur without population growth. It would not increase without population growth, which reduces labor productivity. So she's trying to say that more the people, more the labor, more the productivity, and the motivation in the people is to grow more is more population, right? Which reduces labor productivity. Full stop. Next line. This claim, I mean the continuation of same. This claim remains unproven. This claim remains unproven. Full stop. So now the criticism also I am including in between only. I am not writing a separate criticism, but there would be some lines which would criticize why she was wrong. Okay. She argues that it is a necessary collective response to population pressure. मतलब population pressure की वजह से you are growing more number of agriculture productivity. Next line. Pressure. Next line. Such intensification leads to technological advances. Such intensification leads to technological advances, comma, such as new following system. New following system. It leads to technological advancement such as new following system. Comma, which requires new tools and techniques and further shapes the institution and further shapes the institution. Right? Now, why the theory is not right? Because there can be other way of also of the means of production. Maybe because the intensification of agriculture has happened autonomously, khud ba khud hua. It is not because of the population which is growing, right? So the pressure cannot be from the they talked about the collective pressure of population. That from the collective pressure of the population, you are trying to do something which is coming from the population directly, but वो खुद भी तो खुद हो सकता है. There could not be any relation with that, so we call it as autonomous, right? So write down. The theory overturns the direction. The theory overturns the direction as they see technological change as an autonomous process. As they see the technological change as autonomous process rather than proceeding from population growth, rather than proceeding from population growth. मतलब it's not because of the population, this is because of their own. They can be separated, like autonomously भी हो सकता है, जरूरी नहीं population pressure की वजह से ही ये चीज हो रही हो. ठीक है? All right. Now please revise, and then we are moving to another theory, which is the last one. the optimum population theory. Please revise first and let me know if you have any doubt. You written 5-6 answers. I have given that to you, no? Acha. Mm-hmm. From every topic you've written answers. Okay. Just show me. Tomorrow you're coming? Tomorrow too you're not coming, no? So today I see some of the answers. Right? That is fine. Rest. Rest I'll see on Monday. No problem. So see, this practice has to be continued in the class. Whenever I'll see PYQs, I'll give you the PYQ for assignment. You have to do it. And there's a test also on the Saturday of yours. This Saturday. You have been not updated? I have updated already to you, right? And on Telegram, I think, have you been updated or not? Not yet. Okay, so you have a test tomorrow of this economic geography, the portion that we have covered. Okay, that you can do. I think I've already updated to you a week back, right? What happened, Rahul? You're not prepared? Ajay forgot. No problem. So you have the today's time to revise. You do one thing. You can give. I mean, it will be uploaded on the portal. You revise everything and give it at your pace, right? I mean, give tomorrow only, but there is no time bound. Okay. Have you done the PYQs which I have given? फर्दर स्टार्ट किया आपने लिखना? प्लीज ये एक्टिविटी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है बिकॉज PYQ जितना आप लिखेंगे, आप एक बार लिखेंगे, फिर दूसरी बार लिखेंगे, फिर तीसरी बार, देन ओनली यू विल हैव अ हैबिट ऑफ राइटिंग मोर एंड मोर. एंड देन अभी आपने एक ही बार लिखा, देन सेकंड टाइम यू विल राइट इन अ मोर फ्रीक्वेंट मैनर. So you know that your whole exam is also inspired from all the PYQs that has been there. So आप ऐसे you cannot leave that part. It's very very important that you have to do all the PYQs. And I'm trying to maintain this rhythm that after the completion of each and every topic, I made sure that aapko sari PYQs I give, right? And I do discuss in the class, and the notes are also designed in that way that you can directly use the notes and write. You don't have to go anywhere else. Okay. Okay. Done. Now we are coming to the last theory, the optimum population theory. And here we have written this. So what is this optimum population theory is all about? See, optimum means which is perfect. Perfect means what? Balance. इतना सही है. See, optimum means that अगर इससे कम हुआ there will be a problem, या फिर इससे ज़्यादा हुआ there will be a problem. And this optimum we are talking in the context of population. So they say that optimum theory actually focuses on that the population should be such, there should be enough of the people that they can use the resources. अगर under population होगा तो क्या होगा? Resources ज़्यादा होंगे पर उसकी use करने की efficiency, because people are not there, so they won't use that. So what will happen? Then the efficiency would decrease. और जब लोग इसको use नहीं कर पाएंगे, so it will go waste. There's a lot of resources will also go waste. So underpopulation is also not right, right? And जैसे ही आपका population बढ़ेगा तो क्या होगा? Here at the optimum your per capita income will also increase. So there is a motivation to increase the population from underpopulation, that your per capita income will also increase from this part to this part, right? But again there is a problem that if it is going towards overpopulation, then there what will happen? Obviously the dependency on the resources will be more, and also the per capita income would again decrease. पहले भी कम था और उसके बाद per capita पे बिल्कुल सही हुआ, मतलब optimum level पे बिल्कुल it was perfect that people were having more per capita income, और उसके बाद जब ओवर पॉपुलेट हुआ then again it declined. So the population should be such that there should be what, the increment, the per capita income should be fine. ठीक है. Now write down, optimum theory of population appeared. The optimum theory of population appeared as a reaction to, it appeared as a reaction to Malthusian theory. It appeared as a reaction to Malthusian theory, full stop. It is also called as, it is also called as modern theory of, it is also called as modern theory of population. If it comes, see, these alternatives are very important. अगर आपने ऑप्टिमम थ्योरी सिर्फ पढ़ा है, यू डू नॉट नो द ऑल्टरनेटिव नेम, अगर ऑल्टरनेटिव नेम आ जाता है तो आपको पूरा पता होते हुए भी यू वोंट बी एबल टू राइट. सो प्लीज फोकस ऑन दैट. जैसे आपका स्टेप एंड गो, स्टॉप एंड गो, राइट. सो वो भी नहीं पता था, डिटर्मिनिज्म, राइट. तो वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, यू शुड नो द ऑल्टरनेटिव नेम्स एज वेल. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, full stop. In the recent years, Professor Robbins, it's Robbins, Professor Robbins, comma, Delton, and Carr Saunders, C-A-R-R, write down C-A-R-R-S-A-U-N-D-E-R-S, Carr Saunders, have refined and polished the theory and put it in more presentable form, and put it in more presentable form. Write down. Next line. The founders of the theory state that, in a double inverted commas, write down, given the natural resources, comma, stock of capital and state of technical knowledge, stock of capital and state of technical knowledge, comma, there will be a definite size of, population, there will be a definite size of population with per capita income, full stop. The population which has the highest per capita income, the population which has the highest per capita income is known as optimum population. The population which has the highest per capita income is known as optimum population. Now, what is optimum population defined in the next line? The economists like Carr Saunders, considered optimum population as that which produces maximum welfare, On the other hand, Professor Cannon, defined the theory in the terms of, in a single inverted comma, return to labor. कि लेबर के पास कितना, रिटर्न आ रहा है, रिटर्न टू लेबर, full stop. He remarked in double inverted commas, write down, knowledge and circumstances remaining the same, there is what may be called maximum return. There is what may be called maximum return. Full stop. When the amount of write down, when the amount of where have you written? No, it's before that.
That is what we call maximum.
Maximum returns. Okay, full stop. When the amount of labor is such that both and decrease in it, both when the amount of labor is such that both an increase or decrease in it would diminish proportionate returns, full stop. Similarly bounding, bounding, bounding has rightly observed, optimum population is that bounding is a name, right? Bounding has rightly observed that optimum population is that at which standard of living is maximum. Right? Okay, standard of living is maximum. Okay. What else? So what have you got through this? See, लेबर का जो शेयर है, जब प्रोपोर्शनेट रिटर्न्स दैट दे हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट, जब प्रोपोर्शनेट रिटर्न्स आपके कभी भी कम होंगे इस लेवल पे, अभी आर गेटिंग द मैक्सिमम, ठीक है, अगर कम होते हैं पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज से या पॉपुलेशन किसी भी रीजन से डिक्रीज तो पहले से ही है पॉपुलेशन, तो ऑब्वियसली वहां पे देयर इज अ चांस दैट इफ द पॉपुलेशन वुड इंक्रीज, ये ऑप्टिमम है, क्योंकि क्या होगा, ज्यादा आपका पॉपुलेशन होगा तो यू विल हैव मोर ऑफ इनपुट्स, right? Innovation के through, technology के through, you will have more of inputs. So what will happen then? The per capita income would increase. When the per capita income is such that कि आपका optimal use है, मतलब per capita इतना है कि maximum है, अब इससे ज्यादा अगर increase हो रही है population तो क्या होगा? It will decrease, right? So where the per capita income is maximum, that is your optimal population. Now उससे कम, now उससे ज्यादा. This is the whole essence of this. अब Cannon ने क्या बोला? There is a statement by Cannon, there is a statement by Bounding. So Bounding has said a very right thing, that optimum population is that where the standard of living is maximum. जब आपका standard of living maximum है, यही आपका optimum population है, ठीक है? अब आप इसको चेंज नहीं करेंगे अकॉर्डिंग टू देम, ठीक है? नाउ what happens in the case of underpopulation and overpopulation? Underpopulation में you have the motivation that you have to increase the population so that you should have more per capita income. लेकिन overpopulation जब exceed कर जाती है, then what happens? It further decreases. Now write down under underpopulation, write down the heading underpopulation, and write down under that, if the actual population in a country is less if the actual population in the country is less than the optimum or ideal population, comma, there will be not enough people, there would be not enough people to exploit, there would be not enough people to exploit the resources of the country, exploit the resources of the country fully. There would be not enough people to exploit the resources of the country fully. Full stop. Thus the population and per capita income will be lower. Thus the population and per capita income would be lower. Next point. In other words, if the per capita income is low, it is only true in the case where the per capita income is low only due to lower population. Okay. In other words, if the per capita income is low due to the lower population, then it is known as underpopulation. Then it is known as underpopulation. Now, what is the idea of overpopulation? Right on the second point, overpopulation. And write down under it. If the actual population is above, the level of optimum population, if the actual population is above the level of optimum population, comma, there will be too many people to work efficiently. There will be too many people to work efficiently and produce maximum goods and highest per capita income. Full stop. As a result, the per capita income becomes poorer than before. Full stop. This is a stage of overpopulation. Now, what is the assumption? Write down the assumptions under it. This, that how you have assumed the things that it's fall to be true. First is optimum theory is based on two important assumptions. तभी ये true होगा, otherwise नहीं. Optimum theory is true for only two assumptions. Write down. First is the proportion of working population to total population remains constant. The proportion of working population to the total population remains constant as the population of the country increases. इसका कहने का मतलब ये है कि if population, working population में लोग ही ज्यादा नहीं है, उतने ही है जितने थे, और population increase होती जा रही है, पर denominator increase होता जा रहा है, तो क्या होगा? वैल्यू कम होगी. ठीक है, तो जब आपकी वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन में इतने लोग नहीं है तो क्या होगा? उनकी वैल्यू, व्हाट विल हैपन देन? देखिए यहाँ पे ऑप्टिमम है, यहाँ पे वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन, फॉर एग्जांपल आई एम जस्ट अज्यूमिंग दिस इज अंडर पॉपुलेशन. ठीक है, अब ऑप्टिमम में कितना वैल्यू है? फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर गेटिंग $, फॉर से 5,000, जस्ट अज्यूमिंग लेबर्स आर गेटिंग $5,000. ठीक है, अब आपका इट इंक्रीजेस. ठीक है, पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीजेस. अब पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज कर देता है तो क्या होगा? तब भी सेम है. क्यों सेम है? आइडियली तो डिक्रीज होनी चाहिए थी, क्योंकि वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन यहाँ पे भी सेम है, यहाँ पे भी सेम है. ये तभी ट्रू होगा, ये तभी कम होगा इसका वैल्यू जब वर्किंग पॉपुलेशन यहाँ पे, यस, तो यहाँ पे भी इंक्रीज हो रहा है ना, तो पॉपुलेशन इज इंक्रीजिंग, जैसे यहाँ इंक्रीज हो रहा है वैसे यहाँ इंक्रीज हो रहा है, राइट। तो आपका वो जो कांस्टेंट है वो आपका सेम रहना चाहिए। नेक्स्ट, as the population of the country increases, comma, the natural resources and the capital stock, as the population of the country increases, comma, the natural resources, comma, the capital stock and state of technology remains unchanged, and state of technology remains unchanged. First we will write the merits of this theory and then we will write the criticism of this theory. First write the merits. What do you see? What merits do you see of this theory? That there is a comprehensive approach. So write down the first point, comprehensive approach. Write down under it. It explains the relationship between productive efficiency. It explains the relationship between productive efficiency and production. It explains the relationship between productive efficiency and production. Second point, qualitative nature of theory. Qualitative nature of theory. Professor Bai, B-Y-E, Professor Bai said, optimum population is difficult to find because the size of population must lead to the fullest development of social and economic life. It should lead social and economic life. So what do you mean? The quality of the population also matters? ऐसा ही नहीं कि population increase हो रही है but the quality is not increasing with that. It only holds true if you are having the quality of a population is also maintained in the same time. ठीक है? Next, pragmatic approach. Third point is pragmatic approach. This theory is also pragmatic as it is concerned with practical results. And fourth is more detailed analysis. And fourth is more detailed analysis. As it brings the merits and demerits of both under and overpopulation. Now, what would be the demerits or criticism of the same? अब आप demerits सोचेंगे तो what will be there? So how to define the optimum population? Right? हर state के लिए same तो नहीं होगा optimum population. Do you all agree with me? Right? The optimum population has to be differ for different states, for the different countries, right? अगर countries का optimum population हम कैसे define करेंगे? According to their situation. So we cannot generalize anything. So write down the criticism. First point, difficult to determine optimum population. First point is difficult to determine optimum population. And write down under it, it is difficult to know the optimum population of countries at any time. Full stop. Many factors like technical knowledge, comma, stock of capital, comma, per capita income and natural resources, stock of capital, comma, per capita income and natural resources have to be taken into account. Second point, static theory. It completely ignores, static theory के अंदर लिखेंगे, it completely ignores changes in natural and human resources. It completely ignores changes in natural and human resources which affect per capita income. Next, it neglected biological and sociological factors. Can you give me some of the biological factors? Yes, biological factors means if the number of women are more in that area and they are not willing to work, then since the population is increasing in that factor, that area, then what will happen? Then productivity will also तब भी तो underpopulated ही रहेगा. Optimum level of population कहाँ obtain किया? Population increase कर रहा है, लेकिन कैसे define करोगे optimum? उसके लिए तो working age of population, working group of the population should increase with the increase of the population ताकि वो constant remain same. That is what we have discussed कि वो constant वही assumption था कि आपका जो constant है वो static रहना चाहिए. जैसे आपका number of population increase हुआ तो आपका base भी तो yes, so biological factors could be many. Maybe they are willing to work or maybe they cannot work because of the cultural issues or maybe because of a lot of issues that can happen, or the culture is not allowing them, the way, for example, if the girls are getting married after that they are not, so there can be many issues for that. So we cannot say that just because of these factors आपका ये चीज स्टैटिक रहने वाला है. सो स्टैटिक तो नहीं है बिल्कुल भी, राइट? और ये नेग्लेक्ट करता है क्या? सोशल फैक्टर्स और बायोलॉजिकल फैक्टर्स. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट लिखेंगे फोर्थ पॉइंट, इट्स नॉट अ रियलिस्टिक थ्योरी. It is not a realistic theory. Right on the next. Why it is not realistic? Again, I have told you because the situation is changing with the changing areas, right? Because as you change the country, as you change the area, the different factors also changes with that. And if the factors are changing, how can you say that this theory is true for all? That's not applied. Next is only economic factors are considered. That is true. They're only considering the per capita income. Only economic factors are considered. The next, distributional aspect neglected. Distributional aspect neglected. The increase of the population and natural income, the increase of the population and the national income is not properly and equitably distributed among the various sections of the society. Right? Right on the last conclusion of this theory, right on the detailed conclusion. Despite of so much criticism leveled against optimum theory, it is surely said that it is an improvement over Malthusian theory. It is surely an improvement over Malthusian theory. Full stop. Optimum theory is an important landmark. Optimum theory is an important landmark in the science of demography. It is a valuable, full stop, it is valuable because it enables us to overcome the, because it enables us to overcome the bogey of BOGEY, bogey of Malthusianism, Malthusianism, and give us a test of progress with the help of per capita income. Right? So this is all about it. We have done the merits, we have done the optimum theory. So how many theories we have done today? First we have done Marx, where the Marx has explained what? That how the theory that has been applied so far by Malthus is not right because the model needs to be changed. Next theory we have done of Bosirov. She has emphasized that the land intensification, the agriculture intensification is basically from the population pressure. If the population pressure is there, then the land intensification would be there. But she has been criticized highly by the scholars because there is no improvement, because the technology improvement or the productivity improvement can be autonomous, can be independent of all. The third thing that they have mentioned, third theory is of optimum theory, where we are talking about what is the optimum level of population and how we should maintain and why we should maintain it, right? And there has been two statistics which has been given by the different professors like Bounding, Kennan, Robbins. They have done well research. We have done the merits and criticism of both. Now write down the PYQ of the same. How important this topic is. Write down the PYQ. Yesterday I have given, I guess, of write down the question. Discuss the social and economic theories of population growth. Discuss the social and economic theories of population growth. This has come in your CSE 2008. Write down the year also, CSE 2008. Here you have to define what? क्या आप define करेंगे इसमें? You will talk about Marx because the social. Then what next? You can talk about Malthusian also. Then what? Yes. Economic, definitely. Your optimum is truly saying that it's economic theory, right? Where it's talking about the per capita income. So now you know how you have to write. Okay. Or you can also discuss about the David Ricardo. Okay. Next is your write down Marx's view on population. Marx's view of population is more humanistic. Marx's view on population is more humanistic. Comment. How many of you agree with that or disagree with that? Was that more humanistic? Humanistic means like you're considering the human factor in that. Yes. So you're considering more, you're seeing it from a more of, from the, see, when the capitalist, you have to talk from the perspective of capitalist. What was happening was right. अगर हम देखेंगे from the perspective of somebody who thinks about the welfare of the people, then that was wrong. So it is more of a humanistic or more of a economic, because economic, somebody who is coming from that mindset of interest, profit oriented नहीं है कोई इंसान, so what he will think of? He will think of betterment of all. That is what the theory is, that you think of the welfare of all. So whether he is thinking from the perspective of that he wants to help or he wants to do the welfare to all the section, especially he is more concerned about the working class of the society. Was it that the population theory is coming more from that side? Yes. So what will you write in this? Because they are getting less amount of wages, right? Because the model was not fit, because the condition of the people were exploited, right? Because of this reason, we can say that he was thinking from more humanistic point. Okay, what will you write in this? Marxist view on population was based on basic consumption of society being divided into haves and हैव्स नॉट. जब आपने यही डिस्कस कर दिया तो आपने दो सेक्शन में डिवाइड कर दिया हैव्स एंड हैव्स नॉट को, तो आपका डायरेक्शन ऑफ थिंकिंग विल आल्सो गो इन दैट. ओके, द फंडामेंटल बेसिस वाज आल्सो ह्यूमनिस्टिक, right? So you can write the society was divided into two parts, the capitalist and the working class, and now they wanted to see that how important was the working class was there for the society, but capitalists could not see that, while he was seeing that from his perspective, as he has already told that the value addition to the product is only done by labors. Okay, you can write the more points which I have given you in the question. I'll see if other questions are there. This is the question which has come in CSE 2015. Your Civil Services Exam 2015, this question has come. Okay. Right on the next, we have done the case studies of Japan also, right? Do you remember in the second class we have done? So can you write this question now? There are considerable, write out the question first and then we'll discuss. There are considerable demographic similarities between West European nations and Japan. Full stop, explain. See, Japan will always be relevant whenever you are discussing about demography. So now you have to discuss the similarities between West European nations and Japan. Explain. Yesterday only I read an article where the cost of living of in England especially, it's increasing so much that the happiness index has been reduced of London, of UK, right? It has been reduced, that people are not happy there because the cost of living is so high that they have to constantly think about that. And when they have to constantly think about in one section, then you won't be able to enjoy your other sectors, right? So this is important, that you have to understand that how the things are. You can also discuss in the contemporary world, not only that the similarities, आप ये भी discuss कर सकते हैं किस तरह से that they are not able to meet, because Japan, the same case is there. Although they are fighting with their demographic structure, their age structure they are fighting with, but apart from that, that is also the case in Japan, that people are not so, they take work very sensitively, right? So this is what you can write in this. And we have done the detail the case study of Japan already, right? Acha, you can also mention here the 5 stages. Demographic transition theory that we have done, you can also mention that all the 4 stages that we have done, because both the nations have gone through that. What they have said, that this applies to European countries, then Japan is also developed, right? They've also gone through the same stages. So you can discuss this same. Do you remember inverted pyramid that we have done, right? And what I have told in the transition theories, the 4th stage, where there will be a low birth rates and also low death rates. So how we will be a structure? It will be inverted pyramid. Inverted pyramid means what? Your birth rate is low, but the death rate is also low. So the people at the higher age, right, above the 60 to 65 years or above, that will be more, and then that will be more the dependency of them. Yes, they will more dependent on the government, and the youth sector is declining, it's narrowing. So youth is declining, so what will happen? They will be less, but GDP would, because this is a working class which is actually bringing the more productivity. So talk about the GDP, it's a working class which is bringing it more, right? So this inverted pyramid is very dangerous. Okay, so this is what you can discuss in this, or you can write. Okay, next is, I think I've given 3 questions. Are you okay with 3? I should give more. Okay, for now I think 3 is fine. Acha, one question, please. Have you written this? Access the challenges for the countries with the largest share of aged population. Have you done that? Same case study which I've done in the class. Japan ka case study, right? I've done that in detail. Okay, have you done this? Have you taken this question earlier? This one. Access the challenges for the countries with the largest share of aged population. You're done. You can also give the example of China in this. Okay. All right. Okay, I think this much of questions are enough, because I've already given you many yesterday, and those are also piling up. Acha, one last, please write, because again the topic will be completed then. Write down: aging population has adverse social and economic consequences. Aging population has adverse social and economic consequences. Explain with examples. Explain with examples. This has come in your CSE 2021. That's all for today. Thank you so much. Okay. What aging problem is a problem on the social level? Why it is not? I'm not criticizing anything. I'm not saying the aging people should not age, but I'm saying as a whole, it is not right. Okay. Thank you so much, class. Okay, Dhruv Singh, ma'am, can I also give? Yes, yes, Dhruv, you can give, but I think you have completed the syllabus before. So, yes, this is for you as well. Then it's for you as well. You can give the test tomorrow. The sectional tests are there for economic geography topic. Okay, definitely you can give the test. Thank you so much, class.